Hi everybody, I'm Matt with Woodland Scenics. Now I really enjoy the landscaping process of building any model or diorama. But before I actually add my landscaping, I like to take just a few moments to analyze my layout and really try to understand all the terrain and the contours on my layout and visualize how these may look landscaped in nature. Now, as you can see here on this particular diorama, I went ahead and modeled in some interesting features. I put in some rolling hills, some lower lying areas. I got plenty of rocks and cliff faces to landscape around, and then I went ahead and put in a full water feature as well. Now, this is going to allow me to demonstrate on how easy it is to use the Woodland Scenics Landscape System on several different styles of terrain. Now, the final thing I did to my diorama to prepare it for landscape is to cover the areas that will be landscaped with a earth undercoat color. Now, this color is actually going to tone down the brightness of the plaster cloth, and it's also going to allow me to leave some of this terrain exposed to give it a representation of a very arid and dry part of my terrain. All right, now at this point we're actually ready to get started with our landscaping. Now in the first step we're actually going to be focusing on laying down our lower lying ground cover, and that's going to apply down some natural looking color and texture to your layout. And that's truly what this landscape system is all about. It's all about real natural colors and a lot of different textures emulating lower lying plants all the way up through your bushes and trees. Now the initial first step is actually to put a base of Scenic cement. Now I'm not going to get crazy with this, it's just a matter of giving it some moisture, giving it something to keep it from rolling off the layout itself. Okay, I'm going to be starting with the fine turf, and the fine turf is going to come in several different colors. I like to start with my darker colors first and working my way up to the lights. Pretty much everything out there in the real world is going to have a dark and a light to it. I like to start with my darks representing the shadows and working my way up to highlighted areas. So you just want to simply sift that out right out of the shaker. And as you can see, I'm going to be focusing on my darker areas or my lower lying ground cover areas to really bring those out. Now another way we recommend is to apply your blended turfs first, followed by your accent colors. And as this all comes together, you'll see how these colors work very well together. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to be switching over to my, my blended fine turf. The blended fine turf is just that. It's a blended material of all the different colors together, and I find that it works super well on this type of layout. I'm going to be sprinkling this on next to my darker colors, and there's going to be plenty of opportunity to actually blend those colors together. What you don't want to do is actually mute the whole thing together. You can see I'm kind of blending those together, but not actually making it one particular color. You want them to work together, and these colors are designed to be blended, but again, you just want to kind of have its own variations of shadows and lighter colors throughout the layout, and as this builds up, you'll see how that's really going to take a very natural looking realistic look to it. Again, just real quickly, I'm going to go over the top of all this. I'm going to get some build up on the top of these rocks. And this blended turf really makes short work out of that. It's just a really great looking natural color. All the colors in the landscape system are all designed around colors that you actually see from the outdoors. So no matter how you use them and what order you use them in, they're actually going to blend together very well. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go back over that again with one more additional lighter color. To do so, I'm going to be using the yellow colored grass, and very sparingly I'm just going to be touching on the top of some of these hills to give it another layer of dimension, just another layer of texture to it. Pretty much where that sun would bounce off these higher spots on your layout. Those are the ones you're going to want to hit with the yellow color. Now again, just like the black, this color is very strong. So if you find that you apply too much of it in an area or you're not quite getting the look you're looking for, this fail-safe system is going to make it very easy for you to go back and hit those areas with some of the colors that you possibly already used, or maybe introducing a new color to it and toning that down to get the look you're looking for. And I'm just going to knock that yellow back into the green blend a little bit. And again, if I find a spot that I don't feel like it's showing enough of the soil through it, you know, it's really good to start from dark to light, but if I need some more here, it's no big deal just to throw some more in there. It really works well together, no matter how you lay it down. All right, I think that's the look I'm looking for. Now, you can actually do this as many times as you need to achieve the look you're looking for, and that's another great benefit of the landscaping system. Now, I'm going to go ahead and fix this all down using the Scenic cement, and I'm going to be spraying that right out of the bottle. And just give that layer a final soaking before we move on to our next layer. Now what I really like about the Scenic cement, It actually already has a wetting agent already in the glue itself, and that's going to help break that surface tension and allow this glue to deeply penetrate into your landscaping, which will permanently fix it to your layout. So let's go ahead and finish spraying that off. Keep in mind, if you have a water feature already on your layout like I do here, you're going to want to keep that overspray from landing on your water feature. If you get some on there, just wipe it off with a paper towel before it dries on there. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and step up to our coarse turf. Again, following suit from working from low to high. The coarse turf is actually going to have a little bit more texture than fine turf, and that's really going to be perfect for emulating a lower lying weed, possibly some taller grasses, pretty much anything that you'd see above like a manicured lawn or very low lying turf on your layout. Now again, you don't want to use a ton of this. You don't want to cover up all your existing fine turf. You just want to patch it up and kind of make it look natural in different clumps and in different sections of the layout itself. And as we were talking about earlier, every dark's got a light, so I definitely want to highlight that a little bit with some lighter colors. This is more of an olive coarse turf. And all these landscape products are available in several different colors to choose from. But believe it or not, it only takes a handful of natural colors, hand-selected natural colors that you would find in nature, to come up with an unlimited amount of hues and shadows and shades to really make this look like a very natural landscape. And once you're done with your coarse turf, same thing, you want to go ahead and fix it down with the Scenic cement. All right, now that coarse turf is the perfect transition from your low ground cover to your medium ground cover, and that's what we're going to get into now. To do so, I'm reaching for my forest green underbrush. Now the underbrush is a lot bigger ground foam, and to actually apply it to my layout, instead of just putting it on the layout and overspraying it, I'm actually going to be getting assistance from the Scenic glue. Now the Scenic glue, I'm just going to squirt that right out of the bottle where I want my bushes to live, where I want my underbrush to live. Now here's the thing with underbrush and any of the bigger ground foam, you actually want to put this in clumps. You know, anytime you're looking out the window or looking out a car window when you're traveling, you never see bushes perfectly spread or dotted across the landscape. They're always in big clumps. The final result's going to be much more realistic. So kind of put the glue where you envision your bushes living. Definitely want to scatter them all over your landscape. Just put them in larger clumps. I'm going to start with the darker color as we did in the past, and then work our way up to a lighter color, and then possibly even go back and highlight it. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and get the underbrush in place. And to help me do so, I'm just going to actually pour this right into my hand so I can grab handfuls of it. And this goes on really fast, so don't have to be perfect about it. There's nothing about the real world that's perfect when it comes to landscaping. Just put that in position. You want to cover about half of your glue spots that you've made. And the reason I do that is because, of course, I want to save some room for my lighter color as I back that up. I think I'm going to be choosing the olive, and that'll really help highlight that up from the forest green to the olive. And again, you can see real quickly how this makes a whole new species of bush or undergrowth just by mixing in a few extra colors with it. And again, you can mix more colors if you want. You can add on, all the colors together in the underbrush series, but the point is you don't have to have them all. Just kind of pick and choose. Just have a light color and a dark color, and it usually works out just fine. And some of these, I'm going to go back with some of the fine turf just to help me highlight these out. And again, that's part of the system. You can always go back and pick up another type of turf or another type of terrain or a landscaping that's going to help you blend these together. This is just going to add a layer of texture to it, maybe some leaves on it, just to help bring these colors together a little bit so they're not quite so obvious of being lighter and darks. And I'm happy with that. I might even touch that up just with a little bit of highlight from my yellow grass, maybe on some of these. Take a moment just to knock my water off here, make sure that's all clear, and then I'll go ahead and lock that all in with the Scenic cement as we've done in the past. All right, now continuing on with the medium ground cover, we're just going to get right into bushes. It's going to be applied the same way. Just put the glue where you want your bushes to live and apply them to your layout. That's probably good enough right there. And again, I'm going to start with the medium green and then use the light green right behind it to highlight it. Keep these pretty clumped up. Again, we're wanting to go a little bit bigger in size here. Then the underbrush, and that's just going to, again, add more texture to it, another layer of color. And these are kind of vivid against the actual bushes, so I'll probably end up coming back again with a little bit of the turf to help blend these together. Again, we don't want it to be one color, but we do want them to blend together to have a little bit more of a natural look. You're not going to have real stark contrasting colors out in nature, so you want to definitely tone these down and keep them looking as realistic as possible. I like to use a lot of bushes up on my ridges of all my cliff faces. You never see a nice trimmed up cliff face. It's always going to be kind of unruly looking and have bushes and weeds growing all over the place, and that's definitely what you're going to try to emulate on your layout as well. Okay, that looks pretty good. Add some light green to highlight. Okay, that's good. Maybe a little bit, say, the blended turf, just to kind of bring those together a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to move right into the actual foliage clusters. The clusters are actually going to be the same product. They just come in a little bit more of a larger cluster. And what that's going to allow me to do is actually peel off a chunk of the cluster and kind of custom make my own bush. Now, because these can be quite a bit larger, you want to use them a little bit sparingly. But you just peel off a clump, find a home for it, and get it onto your layout. Maybe just a little bit there, a little bit here, maybe one on top. Very simple to use. You can see it's a nice large clump. Just peel them maybe in the shape you want, maybe like a hedgerow, or just kind of get some air fluffed into it a little bit, peel them apart a little bit, and just make your own bush to actually fit your layout the way you want it. And really quickly, that's going to go right into position. Now, what I like about this stuff, you can actually tear it apart and use it for making all your trees. Simply glue it directly right to your armatures. It works very well in a clumped fashion as trees in the distance. Just a real versatile product. It's just a little bit more of a raw product, a little more of the raw ground foam that you can kind of custom make to do whatever it is you want to do on your layout. And one more maybe big clump up top. And again, because that's one solid color, I definitely want to go back and add a little bit of turf to that. And by adding that turf, all of a sudden you can quickly see it actually adds like a leaf pattern to it, like it's a real fluffy bush, and a lot of leaf, a lot of growth, real dense. And then we'll go back and hit this entire thing one more time with the Scenic cement. Just kind of lock that all in position. All right, now this particular layout is actually looking really good. All the colors are working really well together. Got great buildup of textures, and this really could be complete if you wanted to, but I'm actually going to take it one step further and add just a few more details to really bring this thing to life. And to help me do so, I'm going to be using the foliage product, and this is the light green in color. Now, I love this stuff, and it actually comes in a sheet of pretty dense fibrous material that's actually impregnated with the coarse turf. And you can use this in a lot of different ways. You can make great trees out of it, ground cover, vines, things to hang from some of your outcroppings, your rock outcroppings and stuff like that. I'm actually just going to be using a small piece of it to use for some low ground cover. And what I like to do is just really separate that and space that out to be a real lacy, thin type of ground cover. And this is going to add another layer of texture and dimension to the actual layout. And you just simply drop that in place where you want it. And very quickly, it makes it look like a species that has a lot of stems in it, and a lot of fibrous material, a real bushy type of plant species that really blends real natural into the landscape you've already laid down. Now another great purpose to use this is on actually all my cliff rock faces and outcroppings. You can actually use pieces of it to represent some type of vine that may be hanging from all your rocks. It really works well and blends very quickly, and it's very easy to attach as well. Now I'm just basically going to be dropping this right into position. It'll kind of hang on to the landscaping you already have in place, and then we'll go ahead and spray that down real lightly with some of the Scenic cement, which will then allow me to come back and then sprinkle that down with some fine turf over the top of that to achieve a little bit more of a denser looking plant on your layout. Again, real easy to do. Don't have to put a lot of thought into it. To spread it out real lacy thin. That seems to really give it the best appearance. And then drop that right onto your layout where you feel like it needs just a little bit more plant life. I'm just going to drop that right over here in the middle of everything. And just, man, real quickly, it just takes on a real natural shape. Almost like a low-lying brush, if you will. Hit that real quick with some Scenic cement. And I'll go back over that with, let's say, some blended turf, just to help blend that in a little bit. And this will, again, add some of that turf to the top of that. Will make it look like there's leaves or just another layer of growth on top of that foliage. And again, the foliage comes in the same colors that we can use on some of our other products, so you can mix and match that as well and just really add a lot of different colors and dimensions to your overall layout. Now another great product that I really like to use to add quite a bit more detail to my layout is lichen. Now lichen is organic, it's a natural product, so it really has already a very natural look to it right out of the package. Now this can be used again for a lot of different purposes. It can take on a look of, when you group it together, trees in the distance, or you can make trees out of it or small bushes out of it. It just has a real natural look to it, and it's very easy to work with and apply to your layout. Now in this particular situation, I'm going to make a light bush out of that, and I do that by actually just cutting the top of that off. It has a natural look to the very top of it. Spread that out just a little bit. And then with using your Scenic glue, you can actually place that directly down on top of your layout. And just like the rest of the product we've used so far, we can go back and highlight that with some of your other turfs and foliages to really make that come to life with different colors. I'm just going to land that right in there, and you can see quickly how much elevation and how much texture that added very quickly to your layout, and giving it a very natural look to it with all the stems and all just the fibrous areas of it. It looks really cool. Hit that real quick with some Scenic cement, and then maybe highlight that with a little bit of blended color, or maybe some soil if you wanted to give it a little bit darker color. All right, now another great way to use your lichen is actually on the front of all your cliff faces, or possibly hanging from a telephone pole or trees. It just has a real natural appearance of ivy. And because it is a natural organic product, it already has that look already kind of built into it. So it's just a matter of really applying it to your layout. I like to look for a nice long stringy piece of it, and this seems to work the best for me. Now you just simply attach that using your Scenic glue right into position. I think it really works well hanging off the front of your cliff faces. And this will also work well to cover up any imperfections you may have, possibly some plaster cloth shining through or color you're not liking on your layout. It's no big deal. Just put a little bit of landscaping right over top of that, and real quickly it'll take on that natural look, like you've spent a lot of time on landscaping. It wouldn't really, because everything works so well together, it's just kind of a self-healing type of product. So let's go ahead and get those into position real quickly. You can see how it just dresses those rocks up and gives them a real natural appearance. Now definitely don't limit yourself to the examples I'm showing you today. You know, the options are going to be unlimited on what you can do with the landscape system. This particular layout is looking really good. The colors are very natural and blended well, but I'm actually going to add just a little bit more color by adding some wildflower. Now the flower and foliage options are going to be in purple and yellow, and I really like adding this to this type of landscape. It's pretty much what you would see out there on a rail line, and to see a lot of wildflowers. It's going to add just a little bit more interest to that. Now to apply it, it's just like the foliage we used earlier. You just simply tear off a sheet and spread that fairly thin, depending on the concentration you want your flowers, and then you just lay that right on top of your existing landscaping. And you're gonna see how that just adds a real nice element of pretty much a wildness to it, or a wildflower look to it, versus being a manicured like you would see on a golf course. Just drop that right into position. See right here, got some purple going on. And I'll fix that down with Scenic cement here in just a moment. I'm gonna add just a little bit more of that. Obviously, the thinner you spread it out, the thinner your flowers will be on your landscaping. And again, it's a really fibrous material, so it's going to give it a look of a little bit taller, unmanicured flowers. And just another layer of texture. Okay, that's the purple. That blends in real nice with my existing landscaping. And I also have some yellow available, which I find works really well against that purple, or it even works real good against my cliff faces as well. It just adds another layer of color up on the higher cliffs. Sort of thin that out. I'm just going to use a part of that. It's kind of already automatically bonds to your existing layout. It just kind of gets entangled up with your the ground cover you've already put down. And then when you fix that in with your Scenic cement, it'll actually permanently bond it to your layout. And all these products are all color safe, so they're going to last the test of time. And once you have it all locked in with the Scenic cement, this layout is going to look like it does today for many years to come. Now, once everything's in position, you want to go ahead and give the entire layout one more generous coat of Scenic cement to make sure everything stays in place. Now, I really feel like this particular diorama has come together very well. I really got the look I'm looking for. But this type of landscaping is really calling for some trees. So I'm going to be adding just a few Woodland Scenics premiums to show you the final results. Now, this diorama turned out great, and I tell you, I could not be more impressed with the way the Woodland Scenics Landscape System will deliver these great results every time. Now, I only used a handful of products on this particular diorama, so if you want to learn more about the landscape system or see the entire lineup of products, you can visit us at woodlandscenics.com.